Morning once more. So we are still on our CLI application with NodeJs. And the good side is we'll be completing it today. So we'll complete it and we will summarize everything we've been building so far. So in our previous class, we actually completed the utils module. And we even built the entry point and the main application file, which is the index.js. But then we had issues and we had to refactor. So the command, we added the add.js module, which is responsible for adding tasks to our storage. So we had issues and we had to refactor the index.js and entry point files. So what will we do? Okay, so here is our repository. And here is what we are building. And here is the file we will be working on. So we wanted to refactor the whole of this file. So we make it look more professional so we don't encounter errors. So this is our index.js file. We have our task manager here. You know what? Let's do this. Let's this one is okay. Let's just remove everything inside of the index.js file. And we will start afresh. You know that you can directly execute this file. So in case of direct execution, we will add a command that will handle that for us, or we add a directive that will handle that for us. In case of a direct execution, this is called a shebang. It's a directive that tells your computer to use this runtime in your environmental should I say environmental or environment variables to execute a file. So here we are telling our system that, okay, so you can find this. We've installed this already. It's in our user binary env. So find it there. And what we use to execute, what we find there, the package we're actually looking for is the node package, which we use in executing this file, if in case it is executed directly. So this directive tells our computer to use the node package to execute this file if it is executed directly. So now we import our formatter from utils formatter.js. Now we need a class that is our task manager class in the index.js file. So we declare a class task manager. And in this class, we have a constructor. So we have a storage here, which is a map. Say this command is equal to new map. So this is our storage. So we use it to store our commands. So this is the only property we have in our constructor. So moving on, we add other methods to take care of all these. So the first method we add is register commands, async. This is an asynchronous method. So register commands. So this will register all our commands for adding, updating, and deleting our tasks. So in here, we say const command modules is equal to, the first command is add. And in the add command, we say, okay, await import commands slash add JS. Okay, we'll see dot. Okay, so we're awaiting it. So you should dot default like this. So import statement is an asynchronous function. So it will have to read the file content before passing it to this file. And that will block the thread if we don't await the operation. So we have to await it, it's a big best practice in Node. So later on, we will add other commands like list, we add complete. We will also add delete, and we add help. But for now, let's work with our add command. So now that we've added this command, we'll have to register each command. So for us to register, this is an object. The command module is an object. So we have to iterate over each item. So iterating over each item, we'll have to use the object entries let's say the method on the object, which is entries, to iterate over object to get both the keys and values. So I guess we should see how this works. Let's say obj.js. So let's say we have an object const obj is equal to name John, age 23. So we can go ahead. So let's say log object entries. Oops, no, object entries. And what we pass in here is the obj. Let's run this file and see what we've got. Node obj.js. So look at, we have an array. And in this array, we have two sub-arrays, which are name, John, and age, 23. So we can even destructure this. So we can say for each array, we can do something like dot for each array. And then we'll say array. We just we can transform the array, or okay, see, for each array, we say log array like this. So we can basically remove the console log. And run it once more. And then we can see that we have two arrays. Each array with the key value. So this is basically how the entries work. So we can do something like object keys. Can do something like object keys. And this time around, it will only return the keys, which is name and age. And we can also do something like object values. So if you want to transform object into arrays, these methods are handful. You can run this and we have the values John 23. But object entries returns both the keys and values. Okay, so now that we've seen how this works, let's go back to our index.js file. So after we've we have our command module. We'll say object entries, command modules. Then we'll say that for each, no, not for matter, for each module, they will destructure it. This for each text, it's a higher order function that take another function. So we have an array here. So in this array, remember that we can destructure this to get the inner arrays, because what is returning here is it's an array with sub arrays. So we can just destructure this and then we can see, okay, remember this object has an add command and the module that is being imported. So we can destructure this and we can see here we have the name, which is the name of the command, and the command class like this. So now that we've destructured this, we can access this in the body of this inner function. You can say this, we can even go ahead and, okay, let's log this. We can say this command set name new command class, and then we'll invoke the class. So essentially what we are doing here, we have a map. So this map we use to store our command. So for each command, we get the name which is add, and the command class, which is, this is a default import. So it's importing the entire class in the add file. So here with the structure, then we get the name in the sub array. In the sub array, for each sub array, we will get the name, and remember we have two sub arrays here. So if we do something like let's see, command, this will return an array with sub arrays that contain all this. So it will return a single sub array with the name, the key of add, and the value will be the entire code we've read from this add.js. So now we want to destructure it and get access to the direct sub array. So for each array, we are destructuring it and then getting access to the sub arrays. So we're calling it a command class because we are importing the entire class from add.js. So this is actually a class. If you check the add.js, you see that this is the add command. So we are importing this. Remember, it's a default export. And there's a reason why we're importing it here as a default import. So this is a class. So for each of these, the map, we use the key, the name as a key, and then the entire class, we create an instance from this class, and then we use it as the value. So we can be able to use it and add tasks. So now that we've done this, now we'll move on to the next method. Now we've registered our command, so we can be able to grab commands from this new map and execute. So we need to be able to pass argument. So in passing argument, we need the args as parameters to this method. So we first of all check if the args length, if it's exactly equal to 0, that means we don't have any args. So we return a command that let them know how to use our app. So we basically say command, and the command will be help. Args will be an empty array, and options will be an empty object. So we'll see how this can be used. When we return this, the help command will be used to show them how to actually use our application. So now that we've checked if there are no args, but if there are args, then we'll grab, say command is equal to args, the argument at index 0, then we change it to a lowercase. So now that we've gotten the argument at index 0, the rest of the args, we get it from index 1 and above. So we say const command args is equal to args slice 1. So we've accessed the command, the actual command, which is add or list or delete. We've accessed it at index 0. So the rest of the argument starts at index 1, which will be, maybe if we're adding a task, it will be the description, and then followed by arguments like priority and the rest. So we're getting the description from index 1 and priority. That is from index 1 to index 2, 3 are priority and the rest. So now that we've gotten our command and the rest of the arguments, we'll destructure our args. So let's say const args, and then we'll rename it to past args and the options as well. And we'll say this is equal to this, this pass options. So this is our next method, the pass options. So we say command args. So we want to pass the options like priority when adding a task, and when listing a task, we want to list by either status or priority or something like that. So we want to pass the options. So after passing the options, we return, okay, we return command. That is the command we want to execute. That should be add, list, or delete. And then we return the args. We rename the past args to args. Past args. We'll also return options. So we'll see how we can use the past argument in a bit. For now, it may not be clear, but let's move on. We'll see that in a bit. Now, our next method is the pass options. So this one also will take the args as a parameter. And then we'll say const past args is equal to an empty array. And then const options is equal to an empty object. So we loop over the argument. So on loop, we say for const, let's iterator equal to 0. And we'll say iterator is less than args length. Say iterator plus plus. So first of all, say, okay, the current argument is a const. Const current arg is equal to args at index. So args index, okay, const, okay. So the current argument is is at index 0. So if we have an array of argument, we have arg1, we have arg2. So in this loop, we say const arg, that is the current argument. They will grab it at I. And when the loop starts, the index is 0. So the argument we are dealing with now will be this one here, which is at index 0. So now that we grabbed it, what do we want to do with it? So we say if we handle options, the options like dash dash priority and all of those things. So we check if arg does starts with dash dash. What do we want to do? We want to handle, what we want to do is not the key, but the value of the options. We want to use the value. So you say dash dash priority high. We don't need the priority and the dash dash. What we need is the high to be able to set the priority when serving the task. Okay, so how can we handle this? So the option name is what we handle. Say const option name is equal to arg slice 2. Like this, arg slice 2. Then we see const next argument is equal to arg index plus 1, or it's iterator plus 1. So if the iterator is 0 and we've gotten the first arg, this one, the next arg will be 0 plus 1, which will be this arg2 here. So now that we've gotten the next arg and we've gotten the option name, what do we want to do? So we check if this is a flag, like no value. We check if it is a flag, or you can add something like, there are other flags that you can add dash dash priority, or you do something like dash dash help, and then there will be no value, like help. A value will be shown, so there will be no value. So we want to handle this flag. So if it's a flag with no value or an option with a value, so dash dash help is a flag. But when you say dash dash priority, and then you say high, this is an option because we have this one here, and then we have the key and we have the value. So we want to handle all these scenarios. So now that we check if the next arg is available. Now, if it does not contain the dash dash, so we say if next arg is available and it does not contain, that is start with dash dash. If it does, if it does not start with this, that means if it is falsy, starts with, if it contains this, it will return true. Or if not, it will return false. So we are checking if it is falsy. That means if it does not contain dash dash, what do we want to do? We want to say options, and then that is the option name is equal to the next argument. So what we want to do now is to skip the next argument, because it is the option value. So we want to check if the next argument contains this, then we say options, option name that we've got in here is equal to the next argument. So now that we've gotten the next argument, we want to actually skip the one that is this next arg. We want to skip it because it's the value of the option, not actually the option. So we say I plus plus. So after checking this, and we see that it's dash dash priority, and then it's high. So we've gotten the high. So after getting the priority and getting the value of high, we want to skip that high because we don't need the high because we've taken care of it here. So processing it will be a waste of time. We don't really need it because it's an option with a value. So we've gotten the value and we've taken care of it. But if it's not a value and it's a flag, it's not an option with a value, we say options, option name is equal to true. So if you are doing something like node dash dash version, what you are telling node that node dash dash version equal to true. So since we are checking this and we've seen that the next argument, it's available and it does not contain this thing, we'll say, okay, options, the option name, which is high, is equal to the next argument. Now, if it's a flag like this, dash dash version, it's actually a Boolean because we are saying, okay, node show dash dash version equal to true. So we take it and then we'll set the option. That is the option name, which is if we're saying dash dash version, that means we'll grab the version and then we'll set it to true. That is what we are doing here because it's a flag and not an option. So we'll set it to true. Now, after setting it to true, we've taken care of that. So we'll add an else statement to the outer if condition here, and then we'll say passed args dot push. Then we'll push the arg that we've processed. So so far. Remember, it's a loop. So it will loop over all the arguments. So if you process the first one, we push it here. We process the second one, we push it here. So now that we've pushed we've processed all our arguments, all our options, because what we are passing here is the options. Now that we've processed all our options and then pushed it to this passed argument array, what we want to do here is return. In our method, we say we'll return args, past args, and then the options. So now this is our past args. We pushed our arguments here, and then our options also, we processed our options, and we have our options in this options object. So we have our arguments, we processed our arguments, and we've processed our options. So everything is now ready. So what do we want to do now? So the next thing is the execute command. So we need the execute command. You take the command name, the arguments and options, and then to process it and execute it for us. So how do we handle this? We want to make sure everything is almost perfect. So it's an asynchronous method. You say async execute command. You say command name, the arguments from the command line, and also the options from the command line. So now that we have our command name, which can be add, delete, or list, and the argument, which can be description, and the options, which can be dash dash priority. Now that we have them, we say const command is equal to this command get command name. So remember, we have a map here, and we're processing all our commands. So we've processed all our commands and we've set them in this map. So if you get the command name and you execute this command name, once you get the command name here, you are just using the key to get the value. So what will be returned to this command will be actually the value, and the value is the code in this the instance we've created from this class. So now that we've gotten the command, what do we want to do with the command? So if there's no command, we have to check if actually we've registered that command. So we'll say if command, if it is false, what do we want to do? We also say console error, and then we'll format error. So how do we format this error? We say it is an unknown command, and then we also show them the command they've entered, which is the command name, like this. So if the command is not registered, that means it is unknown because we registered all our commands here. So if you enter a command that is not registered, it simply means it's an unknown command. So after doing that, we just let's log something like this. On the next line, we can add a new line here, or we can do this. Then after adding a new line, you can say log, and this time I'll say format help. So format help. And then we show them the available commands. We say available commands. So we show it on the next line. So what are the available commands? The available command is we want to get all the commands from where we registered them and then display it for them. So we say this command dot for each command. That is for each command we've registered. So this will take this is a higher order. For each is a higher order function, and then this will receive two arguments, which is the command and its name. command and its name. So we want to log the command on the console so they will see the available commands that we have. So we'll say, okay, now we want to format it so they can be able to see it very well. So formatter, colorize. I want to colorize the name and the command itself. So we'll say the name of the command is the name we've destructured from the for each function, and the color here will be bright. Now we'll show them the command. We've seen the name, and then we'll show them the command description. We see command description like this. Command dot description. So let's come over to add.js. So look at this. We have the command here. We have the name and description. So we've created an instance of this add command in our index.js file. So now that we've created an instance and we've added it to our map. Now, if we're getting it from the map, remember it will have the command and the name. Because when we get it, remember it has the name we're using to store it, and the command itself. So the command is like the instance we've stored, and then the name. So we'll see this is the name. The name is add, and then we'll add the color here. And the command itself is the instance we've created from this add.js. So from that instance, we get the description, and the description here is add a new task. So we say add, and then we say add a new task, which is the description. So now that we've shown them all the available commands, if we have delete, this will log to the console, and the next one that will be logged to the console will be list.js. The list and the description will be logged as well. Complete will be logged, description will be logged. So they will see all our available commands and what those commands what they can use them to do. So after logging it, we add a new line. So you can add a new line with this or with the new line syntax. So you can go ahead and after logging the commands, we will say, okay, now that we've logged the commands, we'll say formatter, format help. We want to give them enough context to be able to use to create task or use our application. Use task manager help like this for more information. So now that we've shown them the commands, they've seen what they can use the command, but they don't know how to use them. So we also tell them to use task manager help, because this is our application, task manager in the binary file here, task manager help for more information. So the help will show them how to use our commands to create, delete, update, and complete tasks. So now that we've shown them all this, then we will return. We'll do an early return so we don't proceed past this if command. So this is an early return. So after all this, because there's no command, we want to ensure they know how to use our app. So after doing this, we do an early return so they don't proceed past this if command. Great. So after that, but if there is a command, because this is an asynchronous method, we say try catch. And the try block, we say await command execute. So what is the command executing? The args and options, args and options. So if there's an error, we'll also handle the error. So if there's an error, we'll say, okay, we'll log the error to the console, and then we'll say formatter, format error, because it's an error. We need to format the error. And then we say error executing command. But which command? So they need to know the command name. So we say command name like this. And then we also need to show them the error message. See command name, then the error message. So if there's an error, we show them that an error occurred while they were executing this command, and this is the error message. So if it's the add command, you say error executing command add, and the error message we display here. So now that we formatted our error, so after this, we'll also show them how to use the application. Maybe they made a mistake while using the application. So we'll say if command show usage, if the command has a show usage method, we'll say command show usage. So let's go back to our add.js. We have the execute method. We have the show usage. So if they try to use the add.js wrongly, and then we check if the command has this command has show usage. So if it's true, then we'll say command show usage. So it will log this thing to the console. So they will be able to know how to use our command. So now that we've shown them the usage, that's basically all the execute command can do. Very straightforward. Now, moving on, we have the run command. Async run, it's an asynchronous method. Sorry, the run method, not command. So this also will accept the arguments from the command line. And then if this is an asynchronous method, so we say try catch. So we execute our code in the try block, and the errors will be handled in the catch block. So we say await this register commands. Before we can use our commands, we must first of all register them. So if we don't register them, we won't be able to use them, because registering them means we are doing our default as this register command. So after importing everything, we loop over everything and then set them in the map. So this is what the register command is doing. So we are basically importing them so we can be able to use them to do whatsoever we are doing in our application. So now that we've registered our commands, they are ready for usage. So we will be able to pass the command line argument because our commands are ready to be used. So const, see command args, which is command args, and options, which are equal to these pass arguments. And then we'll pass in the args. The args we are receiving here as a property, we'll pass it to the pass argument as um, as argument, as an argument to the pass argument method. So the pass argument here, as you can see, this is what it's doing. It's checking for the argument. If it's 0, and you just return this. But if there's a command, you grab the first one, second one, pass the options, and then return it. So now that we're passing the options, passing the arguments, we will then grab the command, the args, command args, and options. So we can be able to use them to actually run our application. So now that we have it, now remember what the execute command is doing. It is checking for the command. So if the command is available, it will just execute the command. But if it's not available, then we'll do all these things. So now it's time to execute our command. This execute command, then we'll pass in the command and the command args with the options as well. Command args and the options. So the execute command now will be able to call the command and execute the args and the options. So this execute method is coming from all of these commands. The command here is add.js, and it has the execute method. Look at what the execute method is doing. Execute. So it will validate the args, validate the options, the priority, and everything. And if after validating everything, it will add the task and everything in return success. So This is what the command execute is doing, because all of these classes here, all of these files have, or let's say all of these objects, they have the execute method, which is used in executing whatsoever they are doing. So this one, the add.js, is adding our task to our storage. The complete is marking it as completed. The delete here is actually deleting a task from the storage, and the help.js is showing users helpful information on how they can use our application. And we have the list, which is listing our tasks or a single task. Okay, so now that we have this in place, what if there's an error? So we have to handle errors, so it doesn't just fail silently. So error, and it will format error. So what error are we formatting? It's actually an application error, because we've validated everything. And why is this command still failing? So that should be an application error. And then we log the error so they can be able to see it and maybe report to us error that message. But we're supposed to interpolate this. So we're using template strings like this. And now we formatted the error so they can be able to see it. So an error occurred to say process exit, it's process exit 1. So exit with the error code 1 to tell them that, okay, an error occurred. Process exit 0. 0 means your operation is successful, but 1 means an error occurred. Okay. So now that we've added our run method, we have another short method here, which is a get command. So what this one does is actually get our command from the map. So say return this command. I will say get. Remember, the map has a get and set method. So the command name is what we get, and this accepts the parameter of command name like this. But if we are trying to get it and if it's not available, then we default to null. Okay, so we can actually do something like this. Maybe it's undefined, then we default to null. And we know what all these operators do, what they do. So we know what this one, the or operator do, and what do you call this other one again? Oh, I've forgotten the name. All they all do. So now that we have the get command, okay, so this is get command and not get command. So let's add a simple one again, get command. This one just returns this command like this. So these are all the methods we need, and we can see how we'll be using using this get command and get command in a bit. So now we have all the methods. Now it's easy. We need to write one more method, which is okay. So we are done with all the methods in our task manager class. The next thing is a function, a main function in our application that actually executes all these command. And we can see main function like this. Now it is an asynchronous function. So say async main, async function main. So what is the main function doing? So we create an instance from our task manager, say const task manager is equal to new task manager. So now we've created an instance from it and we'll use it to run our application. So say const args is equal to process argument vector slice 2. And we already know why I explained this earlier. So we already know I was slicing at 2. And then we say await task manager run args. So we've been using this args parameter and argument up and down, but we don't even know where it's coming from. So we pass it here, the run, we pass it to execute command. This one, we pass it to this one. And so this is where it's coming from actually. We're getting it from the command line. We're getting the args from the command line. So process argument vector slice 2. So we're slicing 0, 1. So if you say something like node index.js, and the next thing you specify will be, if you want to add a task, is the description. And then you say dash dash priority, and then you say hi, something like this. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, 1, we don't need that. What we need is 2, 3, and 4. So we are slicing at index 2, which we get the description, priority, and high. That's the reason why we're slicing it at index 2, because the argument vector is an array of arguments passed on the command line. So now that we've gotten our args, we pass it here so it can be processed. So once we run this, that's all. But then we need to handle other things. We handle uncaught exceptions. Then we handle unhandled promise rejections. So let's go ahead and say process on. So there's this on if this error occur. Let's say it is called uncaught exception. Let me. I've not misspelled uncaught exception. Okay. So this takes a callback function with an error parameter. Say error, or just say error. So we handle this gracefully. So say error, we logged it to the console. So we'll log it multiple times. So it's process exit 1. Because it's an error, we exit with an error code to tell the system, okay, an error occurred. So we're exiting with the error code 1. So what is it? We'll say format error. So we see uncaught exception. And then we say error message. So the same thing. Okay, so let's just copy this, paste, and get rid of this. So format error, say error stack. Error dot stack. So this will basically like trace where the error is occurring. So we're importing different files into other files. So it will just show us a roadmap to which file and which place where that error is occurring. So that's the reason why we're logging the error stack. So we know exactly where the error occurred. So let's handle unhandled promise rejections. So this one too is a method on the process. It's a process on, this one is called unhandled rejection. So this one takes a callback function with 2 parameters, which is the reason and the promise. So the first one is the reason, and the second one is a promise. So how do we handle this one? So let's just copy this. here, bring it down here, paste it twice, copy this and paste it here because it's still an error and we'll be exiting with the error code 1. So what we do here is we'll basically say on handled rejection at, and then we show the promise where the rejection occurred and we did not handle promise. The next one is to show the reason why it occurred. Say reason, and we show the reason here. Then we exit with the error code. Wow. So now that we've done this, we'll say export okay. This should be outside the main function. So I've been writing it in the, okay. So this should be here. Okay, so now this is cool. So the next thing we want to do is export default task manager. We'll see why we're exporting it as a default export. So, but we need to, okay, so we're just exporting it like this, just for like testing or programmatic use, or if in case we want to test the individual file. Okay, but that's by the way, we don't really need that. Maybe we need it, but we'll see in a bit. So we want to be able to run this application if this file is executed directly. So if we execute this file directly without using our task manager command, so we say if import meta URL is exactly equal to, okay, we need to interpolate this, say file, this, we'll see process argv, argv1. So if the URL is exactly equal to this, and we will see why we're doing this in a bit. Then we'll call the function main. It's an asynchronous function. Then we'll say catch. So if you execute it and an error occur, just grab the error. And we say we'll log the error. So let's just copy this one here quickly. Paste it over here. Then we'll say fail to start application error message. Then we exit with an error code. We'll do something here like that. Failed to start application. They will show them the error. Error message. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this should be this. Okay, by the error here, function. Okay, let me just remove this entirely. Okay, this is function, this inside. Okay, remove this one here, and the error is gone. Okay, so this is all we need in our index.js. So for some of us, we've not seen this type of thing before. So I want to just, let's create a new file and then call it test.js. So in this test.js, let's come over here and grab this, bring it in here. So we'll do something like log import meta URL. We'll also log process argv1. So now we'll do away with this. So let's execute our test.js node test.js. So take a look at this. Now look at the import meta URL. Then look at the process argv1. This is the import meta URL file, and then we have 2/. Remember, if we have 2/, because the other slash is for slash users. So we have file, 2/, and this. And then the process argv1, the second argument in the argument vector is the file path. So that is the reason why we are doing this. Remember, we have file colon 2/, process argv1, so as to match exactly the import meta URL. The import meta URL is this. So if you add this to the argv1, it becomes exactly as the import meta URL. So we're trying to say, if we're executing this file directly, that means the import meta URL matches this one. That means this file we're trying to execute. So just run the main command. So the main command is doing all this adding, running commands, and doing the rest. So we just run it. So this is the reason for this. So I had to do this so you can see the reason why we are doing this. Okay, let's delete this one. Wow, this is awesome. So we've come a long way, and we also amend our binary file, which is task manager JS. So what do we need to do in this file? I don't think there's much to do here. So we import path from path, file URL to path, and then spawn. We have file name main path, which is just index.js, and child process, the main path, process argv slice 2. And the standard input output we have to inherit. And then we're using the shell, but this is not necessary. And then we can actually do that C change working directory, and then we say process change working directory like this. So we handle on close, exit code, on error, process exit one. So we can say error running task manager like this. Wow. So I guess that is it. So we did this earlier, but let me say npm on install. Okay, npm on install. Great. So what we are installing is this this thing here. So we are in the, oh, this is KodeCamp 5 cd task manager. Okay, so now we're in the task manager, and we can say npm on install this file. So so as we can see now, if you look at the package.json, something updated in the package.json, but this one here, we did that. We don't even need this because of the what we ran. And then remove this one as well. So the package.json updated. Now we have the node engine greater than or equal to version 22 of the license packages. These are the packages here. So the task manager, the binary here, you have the task manager, being task manager, do. So the log file version is version 3. So now in order to use our file, we made our task manager JS executable because you can't just execute files. So we run a change mode command. So what we did, we say chmode. So change the mode plus X here. So make it executable. And then we specify the file we wanted to make executable. So this task manager JS now is executable. But prior to this, if you run something like task manager, you want to execute the file directory, which we use this directive here to use node to execute this file, it will not work until you make it executable. That's why giving access to your system to be able to execute the file. So now that we've done that, we need to actually install this package. It's just, this is a package, we have a binary file. So we want to install it. And anytime we run in the package JSON here, this is the name of our package, Task Manager. So if we install this package on our computer system, anytime we run Task Manager, let's say if we install it globally, anywhere and anytime we run Task Manager, our application will know that, okay, this is the package they're trying to run because we cannot install more than one of this package on our computer system. So it's just like we're installing from Node Package Manager. So we have our own package here, but then we don't want to push it to npm. The npm is not actually short form for Node Package Manager. It doesn't mean Node Package Manager. npm means something else. But that is not the topic for today. But just know that it's not the full meaning of npm is not Node Package Manager, it's something else. So now that we've seen that this is a package and we have a binary file, that's why we specify this bin. So anytime we execute task manager, okay, task manager add so our computer will search for this. Okay, so we have a node modules, a global node modules in our projects, and the name of the module they're specifying here is task manager, something like this. So okay, we'll search for this module and then we'll execute this. So if you check in the task manager here, what the task manager is doing is using the main path, which is the index.js, and then it's running node main path process argv2, passing the argument that is starting from with the description here and all of that. So it will look for the main part and then it will execute it like this. We're using Node. We know what spawn does, and then we're using Node. We're using, you can, if it's a Python file, you can say, okay, Python, because we're using the Python package to execute the file. But this is JavaScript, and what we're using is Node. So once we execute this, then spawn stream output. So on close, on error. So it will be streaming the output child on close, child. We can also add child on data so that we can stream the output. But this is not a long running process. So we don't need to stream any outputs. So we can leave it like this. So now we want to be able to use our package, because if you do something like, now my command line, I set it in such a way that if a package exists, now if I start typing something like node, npm, now the first letter is red. If I type P, it's also red. But if I type M, now it turns to green because I have npm installed on my machine. So if I come back and type something like task manager, because I had it installed globally. Now, if I go ahead and say npm sudo npm on install -g this package, then I'll provide my password, and then npm will go ahead and update it or install the package. So now if I go ahead and say task manager like this, we are in the directory here, the task manager directory, and it's being recognized. Okay, I can come over here. Now we want to use our package and we want to install it. We can install it globally, or we can only install it in this current directory here. So we can be able to use it here. So we say sudo, no, we don't need to use sudo, we say npm install, or we say the short form I, and then we want to, which package we want to install. We're not installing from the package manager. We're not installing from npm. We want to install this current package here. So we will specify this is the current directory. So if you hit enter, and then it will install it. up to date, audited one package in 364 milliseconds, found 0 vulnerabilities. So we've installed our package. Now we can go ahead and run task manager dash version. Okay. So now task manager unknown command dash version. So now we've seen that our application is working. We have the unknown command here. Unknown command dash version. And then we are showing available commands. We come over here to available commands, and the available commands are add new task. As we said, we formatted the add and then the description, which is add new task. And then we've also logged format help, use task manager help for more information. So if you say task manager help, but we don't have the help module ready. So if you say task manager, then you do help. So it will still show you unknown command. But how do we add task? We can say task manager. We say add. This is a new task. Wow. So application work as expected. Remember, we added 8 tasks the previous time we tested. And then these 3 here, we try to figure out where it's coming from. But it's actually a number or a length or something we logged that we forgot to clean up. So we have task number 9. It is not completed, and the description is this is a new task. So the task manager add command, as you can see, you can go ahead and if you are building with Nest.js or Vessel or GitHub or Git, you still do something like git add, and you say git commit, like git commit message. So the Git is recognized. So it's the same thing as our task manager. Our task manager is also a package. It's a software that we built that we can distribute for users to actually use. So this is how all these things work under the hood. But just that we are doing it without our external packages so that we understand vividly how all this work. To have task added successfully and this. So now it's time for us to go ahead and ask, and so we can even do something like task manager add. This is a second task. And then we can say dash priority low. Okay. It's like this. Remove this. So application error. Arg slice is not a function. This is a second task. That's a priority low. Arg slice. Application error. So we have an application. Where were we doing that? Application error. Arg slice is not a function. Application error message. To have ask command. So pass arguments. So let's move over to the pass argument. So this is our pass argument. Args length 0, args slice 1. So args slice. So this is args. So basically there's somewhere we're using arg instead of args. Args slice 2. So this is where the error is coming from because we're trying to pass the options. So let's run it once more. Priority low. Args slice is not a function. So if I have args, go to args I, option equal to args slice 2. Args length, pass options. So we're using this here, pass options, args slice 1. So but essentially, this is where the error is coming from. So what is the issue? Let's take a look. Let's observe options. Let I equal to 0. I is less than args length, I plus plus. So const I go to args I. If arg starts with this, sequence option is equal to arg slice 2. Slice. Oh, so it is the name here. It is SC. Okay, so let's try this once more. JavaScript without linting. Priority must be one of low, medium, high. So what did we specify that I say? Low, medium, high. The priority low. Priority. Okay, let's look at our add.js. Command add.js. We've not added the help. So priority level. Add description priority. Priority. Low, medium, high. Okay. So let's try high because an error. High. Priority must be one of low, medium, high. Okay, so that means there's an error somewhere. Priority options usage. So where are we throwing that error? Task manager add. Okay, let's see the usage. So at least one argument is required. So we have add description priority level. Priority level, set priority level, low, medium, high. These are the options. So we are trying to add the priority, but then we are getting an error. That is priority high. Add description. This is our description. And the priority level. Okay, so let's make this a string. It's actually a string already. Priority must be one of low, medium, high. Whoa, so that is an error. Okay, maybe we'll come back to that, but let's move on to other command. So in the index.js here, we have the next one is list. And the list, let's first of all import it default like this. I would import list.js default. Okay, so now let's move to the list.js. So the list.js also need or I guess help no list first. List.js. So the list.js, we need the format, the file manager, validator, and the formatter modules imported. Wow. So it's going to be right. But then if we can't complete this application today, at least we've seen how we can do it. And we may be sorry to say this, but then if we don't complete it today, we may leave it halfway because it's taking much time than I thought. And for you that are willing to complete it, you can go ahead and complete it. But essentially, we've learned something. At least we've seen how we can get started with something meaningful. So first of all, import file manager from utils file manager JS. So we import validator from utils validator JS. And we can also import our formatter. formatter from utils formatter.js. So what else do we need? We need a list command, class list command. And in the constructor, the same way we did with add. Okay, so okay. So first things first, before we complete with the list.js, let's take a look at our add class here. It's incomplete. So we have the name of add, the description of add new task, and the usage of add description priority level. Now let's add an array of examples. So this, these examples is equal to an array. So the first one is, let's say add, then we specify what we want to add, complete project development or project documentation. So this is an example. Then another one, let's say add add review code changes, and then we say dash priority. We set the priority to high, like this. And another example, let's say this one is add, this one, no, let's say update, at least update readme. Update readme, and this one will be priority of low. So these are the examples, and we encountered an error. So the execute function takes the args and options. So the args validation here validates this 1. Let's change this to 1. Okay, so let's try once more and see. Command class is not a constructor. Export default. New. Okay, how are we exporting the add.js? Default. Okay. List. Export default. List command. And now if you try to run it, okay, so we're getting that error now. So let's go back to our add.js. So this is not the issue. We've validated our args. We've checked to show usage, return early, description as 0, priority, priority options priority. Then description, validator validates description. If description is invalid, format error, validates priority. Priority is not valid, format description.error. Okay, this is okay. This is description, priority validation, priority validation. So after validating everything, we say const task is equal to file manager add task. They will pass it directly here. Completed is false. This is the new task. And format success added Task added successfully. Format task. This is the task, the new task we've added. Error. Failed to add task. Let's leave it that way. This one will show usage. Okay. Usage. Pass. Execute options. Error. So priority must be one of low, medium, high. Okay. This should be in the utils validator. Priority must be one of okay. If valid priority includes normalized priority. Priority dot to lowercase. Normalized priority equals to priority dot to low, medium, high. If priority return is valid true and the value is medium. So normalized priority equals to priority dot to lowercase. If valid priorities includes normalized priority. Wow. Priority might be one of low, medium, high. So what is this? Validate description. Valid priority. Valid priorities low, medium, high. If priority return value is valid true, medium. Normalize priority dot to lowercase. If valid priority includes normalized priority. Turn. Okay, let's do this. Normalized priority is not defined. Normalized priority. Okay, this is a second task, and this here. Okay, that means it's an error. TK. Wow. So we've encountered another error. So format task, formatter, symbols task completed, priority colors is formatted is this. This is the task ID, task description. Okay, if there's a priority dot to uppercase. Okay, so that is where the error is coming from. This is P instead of low or high. So this essentially an error with we were handling options. Arg slice 2. So we're getting the option. Index plus 1. Key. So let's see if option name is exactly equal to priority. And like this, let's try once more. Options that priority. Let's go to next arg. If arg dot starts with I plus plus, skip options. Okay. First of all, let's do a proper debugging. Let's say log option name. Log option name. And then we also want to log options. Okay. Let's try this once more. We have priority and we have P options option name, which is P, which is supposed to be okay. Options option names go to next arg. Okay, let's log next arg. Next arg is P instead of high or low. So next arg is equal to args. Wow, args. So let's try this once more. Okay, so we've completed our debugging and this was helpful. So this is basically how to debug, and thank God we got this. But you can see debugging is not an easy task. So we just missed a second later and we'll be getting errors. So now we have, this is a second and the priority is low. So we can come over here and specify the priority to be high. Then we have high, but let's remove this one now. And let's go back to format task. The description here, then add the space, add one, and then we have the priority to be high with a space. So this is correctly formatted right now. Okay, so that is that, and that is sweet. Um, um, sorry to say this, but it's been a long ride, and we can decide to take on these other methods and do all of these things. But we won't be doing that. This is working correctly, and we can see how our application is structured. We can see our task manager. We can see the add.js. Okay, let's even go ahead and say task manager. Add. At least one argument is required. Usage options. Task manager add. Is it usage? No, 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 no. Okay, this should be handled in the help. But when we use the help and then we try to show the usage for this, it will show all these things, and then they can use them to do all these things. So the usage and all of that. So actually we will be stopping here, these other methods, because the add method is the only short method here, and the other methods are actually lengthy. I mean, the other commands are actually lengthy. So if you have any questions, you can just ask and we can discuss everything you are not clear about. And we have about approximately 30 minutes left. So we can discuss anything you are not clear about. And in fact, I don't think you are clear about everything. Anything at all you are not clear about, just bring it on so we can discuss. If you want to talk, you can just raise your hand. Anywhere you're confused, anything at all you don't understand, just let me know. A second, please.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, Nicholas.
Yeah, so for the past 2 weeks now, I noticed you've been doing this, been building little projects, but I just want to ask a general summary question, like, what is the purpose of all this thing you are doing in respect to the bigger picture, like where we are going to?
Okay. This is Node.js for backend, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to know the essence of me doing this, and that is the use, in fact, the meaning of all this.
Yes. Because at some point I got a little bit lost. Because I know it's not something somebody can just understand the whole process and steps and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got lost. So I just need to know so that at least that idea will be like a guiding force for me. At least where are
Okay.
we going with
So
this thing we're doing?
in this boot camp, you have your fellow trainees and all of that. So at a point, some of you, I know you just want to build APIs, work for companies and earn money. You just want to build server-side applications. Why some of you actually want to solve problems, actual problems. And most of you actually, so when I started, I wanted to know how all this, like how we can use all this spawn path in production and all of that. So at a point, I had no one to teach me or take me through. So I the pain of me making researches and then having to discover all these things all by myself. So if I want to like teach someone, I want them to have an idea of all these things so that, let's say, for instance, you are building an application. Have you ever used any web app that uses packages like Prisma, Torso for
Yes, yes.
database? You've used them, right?
Not really, but I know of them. I don't think I've really used them, but I know of them.
Great. So let's say, for instance, you find yourself in a position like that as a back-end dev, and you're supposed to build a tool that will automate a process using JavaScript or TypeScript, and you don't have prior knowledge of all these things, um, will you be able to come up with efficient solutions?
No, no, it won't be easy
Okay, so you
because
said
I know
at a
nothing about
point
it.
you got lost, right?
Yes, I got lost. Yes.
So all these things here are things we actually discussed, the little things we discussed. So we had to combine them together. The spread, the rest, the structuring, the path, and everything, classes. We used classes heavily in building this thing here. So it's actually a simple app. It's just a command line interface app that we can save tasks to file and retrieve tasks. But then most of you have not seen something like the bin directory and this file. And to some of you, it might be magical. But let's say you find yourself in an organization where you're supposed to automate tasks or build a CLI where customers or users will use to automate tasks like Prisma. You migrate your database, you do all that, and then Nest.js where you create files and folders using the command line. So all these things are useful. And this is actually an NPM package, and we can go ahead and publish this, and we can be able to say NPM install this. But now we've not published it to the package manager, but we can install it locally and use it. And then you can see that if you look at our package JSON, there's no command like add or whatsoever where we add command start and all of that. We don't have those commands, but we are able to say task manager add, task manager list, and all of that. So this is, I'm just trying to let you understand how all this works without frameworks, without external packages and all of that, how the pain these people go through in building all of this. And you may become one of those engineers someday in building all of this. So you have to automate a process or do something like this. So that is the reason for this.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, you are an intermediate developer, so you don't have to expect simple tasks. So sometimes at a point while building stuff, you make mistakes and you debug. And what we just did here, I made a mistake here. Instead of saying ags, I said ag and it was returning P. We got an error. So we had to correct and everything. So if you go through this step by step, first of all, we built the utils, the formatter, the validator, the file manager. And we learned a couple of things, a whole lot of things here. We learned about the OS, where we are storing our files, directory name, and all of that. So we also learned about colors, how to format colors on our command line, and all these things. We learned so many things. Even some at some point we learned how to write common algorithms and all of that. How to validation also, we learned validation so that if you come across all these things, you don't need to like crack your brain or because you've already seen something like this. But nonetheless, the main point why we're doing this is because by the time we start building with Nest.js, we'll be dealing with heavy abstractions, very heavy abstractions. You don't even know what's going on under the hood. What you know is you are using Nest.js to build APIs. I don't know how those APIs are handled under the hood. So I just had to like go beyond the basics and do something like this. So if you don't find it meaningful or you feel it's not necessary, that's fine. But then
No, I don't feel it's necessary. So I just want to know what we're going to with it. So that's just my question, and you've clarified that already. So yeah, I understand now.
yeah. So any other questions? So the essence of the entire bootcamp is not to just come build APIs and at a point there's AI and you have to be very, very good in what you do. And server-side applications, the security and this all of that. We have to handle vulnerabilities, be security conscious and all of that. So if you don't know very well what you're doing, you write applications that will cause memory leaks and will cause memory inefficiencies. And we've just started. So we'll also learn about package bundlers and module bundlers and the rest, so that we know how the next JS that we use, how it works and all of that. So let me quickly ask you a question. As this application is like this, can someone briefly outline the processes we undergo to deploy this in production? Like if you want to deploy this to production, what can we do? We will just add some commands here and push it to a server, or how can we make this application work in production? Like let's say if it's an API or a server-side application that responds to requests. Is this application production ready? It's just a yes or no question. Is it production ready or not? Okay, so it seems you are not interested in the conversation, but that's by the way. I know what most of you expected is to just come here and learn about vanilla JavaScript, use Nest.js to build APIs, but you all get it wrong. Companies that will want to hire you need experienced developers, not people that know how to build. Any person can build APIs, but there are other necessary things you need to understand as a developer as well. Even if you are not building tools, there are so many things you need to understand. But if you don't find it useful, that's fine. Anyone that finds it useful, that's great. But all you need to do is to continue making research and continue studying, because everything is useful so far as I'm concerned. It depends on where you want to work or where you want to find yourself tomorrow. Yes, Akib, you can go ahead.
On the question that you asked, that is it production ready? So I think we are
Yeah.
still on the development environment, and we cannot deploy this yet because
Okay.
some of the some of for security purposes, or some of our let's say if you are using API keys and or you don't have any environment, the production environment where we can keep all of those things. So we cannot deploy this as it is right now.
Okay.
I think
Thanks for
that's my
your
own.
thanks for your contribution. I appreciate your answer. But let me ask a question. We all know that import statement as asynchronous, right? So
Yes.
we all know we have an idea on how the server and how the server and the client works. So for instance, if you make a request to the server, let's say this is on the server and you're on the client, and you make a request to the server to get you this file, to execute this file, or let's say the server will have to respond with this file to the client. Do you know what will happen? We've imported formatter here. Now, by the time you send a request and this file is executed, let's say it's sent to the client and it's being executed, it will encounter a module that depends on this. And this is an asynchronous import. So that we have to send another request to the server to bring this file along as well. So we have two requests now, the formatter. I don't think the formatter is importing another file. Great. So now just a simple task and we made two requests to the server. So just imagine that you are building an application that imports 50 modules. So that is what will happen if that application depends on those 50 modules to do what you want it to do. The client will have to send 50 requests to the server to get all those files in order to execute. So for this to be application and production ready, we have to bundle it. All of these things will be bundled in a single file. This is what we will discuss later, but I just want to brief you. It will be bundled in a single file. This is what we call tree checking. As much as we're using everything here, there are pieces of code that we're not using. So it will tree check the application and then remove those pieces of code that we are not using. It will clean it up and then it will bundle everything. And this is what we call minification. It will minify it. All of these things, these names, long names and spaces will be eliminated, will be used with single letters and everything. So that when the client requests for it, the file will be sent at once and we don't have to make subsequent requests to the server to get all those things. And there are other uses for minification and bundling and everything. But for now, we need to understand all these things. And due to the fact that we have people working for organizations and they don't know all these things, doesn't mean we don't need to know it. This boot camp, it's a blessing to some of you. I just want you to take everything serious, whether you need it or not. Just try to write it down. One day you will need it. I promise you that. Okay, so this
So
one here is
the
yeah.
bundling that
Go
we
ahead.
do, is it so right now this project, now the aim of this project is to write it without any package. So the
Yes, we
bundling
are
that
just
we do,
using.
we'll still not use any package, right? If you
You
have to
said?
bundle, if you have to
Yeah.
bundle it, so we'll not use any package to bund the bundling.
No, it's not production ready. If we are to write our own bundler, that is another thing on its own. If you want to write a bundler, 1 month is too small because you have to plan and then write a bundler that will detect files, bundle those files, eliminate all those things. So that's why
No.
we have companies like Void Zero. They have things like Bytes. That one is for front end. They have things like Tears Down. That is roll down. We have roll up, roll down for bundling and all of those things. We get to those things in a bit. Casey, as you raised your hand, I thought you wanted to say something.
Okay, good afternoon. I don't want to contribute. I want to say a different thing. Maybe when you are done recording.
Okay, so we're out of time and I think